I want to get right into this because honestly, I am so curious. This is the one I got. I took it out of the box because they sent me 2 hardshell cases, like nice hardshell cases. And one of the hardshell cases, I guess the border cut into the hardshell case and then it rained and there was like water in the hardshell case and it stunk. So I had to throw it away. So yeah, this is the keyboard. But yeah, it was terrible. It was a terrible smell. So that is in the garbage. Wood inside? Yeah, okay. I have thoughts about this already. This is cool. I'm so glad they did this. The TOFU holds a special place in my heart. I don't know if it holds a special place in your heart too. The TOFU, the original 60% TOFU, was technically my first custom keyboard. So seeing them do a keyboard like this, in the same kind of wedge that shape the TOFU's in, is a beautiful sight to see. I absolutely love the shape of this case. So right away, we're looking at some really thin side bezels, which you know is my thing. I like squared off designs. I will say this does seem F1 inspired, which I'm happy for because I like the F1. This does come in WinKey or WinKeyless. They sent me WinKeyless for this unit. I love what they did with the inside here. I'm wondering if this small piece of wood will actually do something for the sound, because it's kind of interesting how they put this here. I am a bit bummed they didn't put this on the outside. But it makes sense why they didn't put this on the outside, because the bottom of this keyboard is supposed to be really simple. It's a TOFU. It's supposed to be simple, and I respect it for doing so. And then it kind of has the weight going upwards over here. But it's pretty crazy. Like, this is a pretty nice looking keyboard. I'm pretty positive this is just aluminum on the bottom. I don't think this is the stainless one. It might be, because they have aluminum silver with textures, and then they have stainless bottom with textures. Honestly, I'm not sure which particular unit this is. They didn't tell me. This is heavy though, so this might be the stainless one. Now, I do think these are stainless steel. My one gripe is I wish they gave me a list of what was inside, because they didn't do that, and it kind of sucks. But yeah, I'm pretty sure these are stainless, because this does have some weight to it. It's just not the heaviest. This is the mocha color, which I think is the best color on this entire page, other than orange. But they have that customize your own keyboard builder type thing. There's a lot of color customs. Yeah, dude, the configurator is really cool. And from what I gather, these are just some quick cliff notes. We're going to go with the stainless steel. Actually, no, let me just do the cheapest configuration first for you guys. Cheapest configuration that you can get with this, assuming you build plateless, which we're not going to assume that. Let's just get an aluminum plate. The cheapest version with no foam is $180, is it? Does that make sense? Let's see. Add to carts. 180 is cool. I like the sound of 180. But yeah, there's even batteries you can get for this, because there's even like a wireless version I believe you can pick up, but there's a wired. The wired version is an extra $7. And then the wired Hall Effect version would be an extra $22. Really, really cool. They have a lot of ways you can build this up. A lot of color schemes, you know, just based off of even the standard colors, there is 3, 7, 10 colors you can pick. Even PC, which is kind of cool too. The wireless is ZMK. I mean, that's even better. ZMK is excellent. So if you guys are curious, ZMK is really good for battery life. I like this a lot. I do think this is fantastic price-wise. A lot of different options, a lot of ways you can customize it. I really like the internals of this keyboard, just like the way they visually look. I do wish some of that was translated to the bottom. But again, I'm conflicted because this is a TOFU, and it makes sense to have a simple TOFU. Now, while I was fiddling around with this, there is one thing that I'm actually not super keen on, and that's the feet. The feet were awkward. They're these little squares that kind of push in, but they kind of have to push in a way where you slip them. Like, see this over here? See how they have this like edge to the feet? And they have like a very skinny part of this? You kind of have to push them in to the point where they just kind of friction fit. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I took off one foot to see how they worked before the stream. They're hard to fiddle with. You kind of have to find a motion with them. And I found that it took me a few minutes to get one in well. So you can probably put double-sided tape on these. But once they're in, they're in. I haven't had them like slip out yet, which is nice. But yeah, they don't, this is like the only part of the keyboard so far that I've seen where it's like, I'm not super keen on it. But yeah, really, really pretty though. This is the standard, you know, wedge side profile here. There it is. The ano looks really good. Yeah, exposed screws, really happy they went that route. And there's that wooden internal with a TOFU 80, which is a kind of weird because they have TOFU TKL everywhere else and then TOFU 80 here. And then those big old stainless steel weights. So they sent over a foam kit, which I'm probably not going to use, some screws, silicone pellets, not exactly sure what this is. They sent over 2 different plates and a hot swap PCB. So, well, and the foam. Pretty nice. It's also utilizing their new daughter board system with those squiggly lines, which is pretty cool. I like the way those look. So you can technically also build this plateless, which I'm not gonna lie, I was really, really hoping they sent a solder PCB over because I would have loved to build this in plateless. But I think I'm gonna build this, I don't know, I kind of want to build this with a polycarbonate plate, but I also want to just use the aluminum because I specifically lubed cherry switches for this today, but I'm honestly not sure what I want to use. I don't have enough milky yellows. I only lubed 70 of those. Can we do plateless? I'm not super keen on doing plateless hot swap personally. There's literally every option here, including ISO. Although I do think you have to probably solder your own socket for ISO, but you do let them know ahead of time and they do that for you, I believe. Literally everything, which is great. Like I said, I kind of... Oh, they sent carbon fiber as well. I'm just going to stick with aluminum. If this ends up sounding really good, this will be probably a lot of people's go-to TKL. Because I'm not going to lie, this has like some of the looks of the F1. You know, that simple F1 kind of look at a very accessible price point. So this could be a very exciting keyboard. All right, so inside, first of all, the ano is very good. There's no issues, no banding, no nothing. Obviously, take that with a grain of salt. KBDFans did send this over to us to take a look at. By the way, I feel like I need to say this every time. Sorry if this bores you guys, but they did send me this. I'm assuming they don't need this back because usually they never ask for any of their stuff back. However, as you guys have seen, I always give away almost all the keyboards we get in. It's very rare that I keep something for an extended period of time, so we'll most likely give this away too. Just probably not in the next few weeks because I need to make content with it. But just a disclaimer, in case anyone needs the disclaimer there. And I think that's also very valid and fair. So, let's take apart this. The wooden one uses Phillips screws, which, bit of a bummer for that. I feel like they didn't have to go with this, but okay. I'll just accept that it's using Phillips head screws for this. You know what I kind of do wish though? I kind of wish they made, this is a very thin piece of wood. I know this is just a cover. Would have been nice to have like a little area to grab it so you can kind of just pry it up. Maybe you could just use your screwdriver like that as well. So here's where the daughter board would sit. Okay, let's take apart this too. A little tough to grab these out, so if you guys are grabbing these out, probably just unscrew it, take out the screws first, and then just let it fall into your hand. But no, it doesn't look like there's any foam pads. But, to be fair, this is a very small cavity with a very thick weight. So I am personally not too hard pressed that they didn't send any pour-on pads or foam pads for this. They're pretty thick, dude. I'm not pressed at all. I am not pressed that they did not put a piece of foam into this. So that would be where the battery would sit underneath. Here is our funky daughter board. You can see this is where the batteries would plug into. Pogo pin connector. KBDFans did this in their agar. And actually, when I saw this, I laughed like crazy. Not because it's a stupid idea, because it's like genius in a way. This also flexes. I don't want to do it too much because there's no need to. And then on top of that, it has basically the wire, so the traces in here are built in. So you don't need to plug anything in. So essentially all you would be doing is plopping this down, screwing it in, and calling it a day. It's pretty nice. Like, I liked it a lot in the agar. I thought it wouldn't work. Like, I thought it would be terrible. It ended up being really good. So, well, at least in the agar. That's the only keyboard I've tested it in so far. So the only thing maybe I'd want to suggest to them is some sort of dampening pad underneath this. Which, you know what? I wonder if we could literally just put one of these underneath. That would be very, very smart. We'll see though. If this has a bit of a problem where this is pingy, maybe I just stick one of these little force break things underneath. And that way there it basically sits like this. I mean, hell, I might even just do it. What's it gonna hurt? Oh, it becomes a little bit stiffer. Maybe we just use a piece of tape then, because these are thick. I feel like MX2As could use some films, yes, but some people may argue otherwise. I think they work well with films. Ooh, I was almost concerned that these mounting spots were in the same thing, but they're not. They're off-centered, which is good. I feel like Sloth is a really easy choice for this, and it would look really good. So this is top mount first with aluminum plate. Top mount aluminum plate, Cherry MX2As done with a 55 gram spring. Stainless steel weights on the inside of this with an aluminum bottom. This has a lot of thud to it, but it's like done in a fun way. Dude, this is gonna be even thuddier with a copper bottom. I think the top mount is okay implemented here, but I wonder now what it's gonna sound like with the gaskets. Kind of sounds hollow. Yeah, it's studdy. I'm not even gonna front, this is studdy. I think if this were done with PC plate, this would be even nicer. Before we take off the top mount, I wanna try something. So what's causing it to thud? Let's see. I don't think it's the internal weights. It could just be the density here. Yeah, unless this is not really doing much for this silicone bit. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't have the aluminum weights, unfortunately. These weights are chunky. Oh, that's so different. Not in a good way. I don't like that at all, with no weights. The only thing I can really think about as to what could be causing some of the thudding noise, I'm gonna do something here, which I don't think this is the answer, but just so I can cover all of my thought processes here, I'm just gonna put a little piece of tape on the bottom of the weight to go over sometimes what causes these thuddy noises. Is sometimes what happens when you have two of these pieces of metal mating against one another and they're very flat. They cause these very minor vibrations. So sometimes this is the answer, sometimes it's not. All right, so this is force breaking the weight. I feel like this is roughly the same though. I still feel like the polycarbonate plate would hit better. It could be the bottom screws. It could be that we need to force break this a little bit better, not just the provided force breaks. Let's do the gasket and then we can revisit. Because I feel like I don't want to go overboard on spending too much time here when I'd like to see the gaskets do their thing as well. These are upside down. I'm doing all these the wrong way. I actually feel like it sounds better with the feet. Dude, I feel like I need to use bump-ons. I'm more thinking it's probably a little bit of these square feet being so shallow, because they are quite shallow feet. Okay, I think it is a little bit of the feet, which makes me wonder about something else now. So now I'm gonna do something else. I'm also wondering if the silicone force brake that's being used isn't really force breaking things properly. So let's go check out one more thing here. And what I mean by that is I don't think these are doing a good enough job. I still think there's some transference of like vibration with these pieces of silicone here. So what I'll do is I'll put some force brakes on them. Again, I don't know if this is gonna do anything, but we'll just try it. All right, let's see if the force brakes. Okay, I think that literally fixed literally everything, so. That sounds very classic top mount to me. Okay, so the feet, these stink. Listen, I actually had a feeling, bro. Honestly, when I saw these feet yesterday when I was opening this thing up, and when we opened the stream today, I told you guys I didn't like these. So on top of them not being good to put in, and they're difficult to put in, I think they didn't contribute much to the keyboard. So either these need to be a slight bit thicker, which I think is probably the real answer here, or what they could do is they could just not mill out this part and just put bump-ons. As for the internals, these little silicone force brakes, I don't think these are either A, doing much, because the force brake and the feet were contributing factors. So what I'm thinking is happening with these silicone gaskets, if you guys want to indulge me in my thoughts here, they're inlaid to the top here, right? So even though they look thick on paper, they go into a machined part of the keyboard. So okay, we have some depth on them, right? However, I feel like in this case, maybe the depth doesn't matter because they go onto inlaid parts here, machined in. So perhaps, oh, I just touched the microphone of the case, I'm so sorry. Perhaps I have a feeling that this is not force braking the case properly. Maybe there's just too much of a gap. So maybe that's the reason why it's causing some non-force brake. I have a feeling if this was compressible, if this was made of more compressible foam, and those machined parts weren't there, this would have done a better job of force braking. Or perhaps the opposite, perhaps these are too stiff right now, and maybe there is some gap being closed, but because these are too stiff, it's almost acting like it's getting compressed too much and acting as if no force brake was present. Here's the gaskets now for the TOFU TKL. Let's try this, shall we? Something's up here. Okay, I think something's bottoming out right here. I'm pretty positive something's bottoming out. I can already tell you I think I prefer the gaskets, but I have a feeling something's bottoming out. And it could be the hot swap sockets. I will find out. Okay, so I don't know. I don't think it's actually bottoming out anywhere. What on earth is causing this? So I'm gonna try some methods I've tried in the past. I think something's impacting the top plate, if I'm being real with you guys. I think that's actually what's going on, is the top case is impacting the aluminum plate. Same thing. So, you hear that? It doesn't actually sit in this. The gaskets never actually touch the top of the case. I don't know if that's visible for you guys. So I'm thinking what's probably happening is as this case comes down and it gets screwed in, I don't know if this will help, but we'll see. No, I still hear it. So, unless it's not actually hitting the top, oh, it might be hitting the bottom. Hold on. I think that's what it is. I can tell you guys this, I really don't think the gaskets are being compressed. I can say that with confidence. It's not a compression issue, because when I lean the plate up, like when I put the plate up on the top, the gaskets don't even touch the top of the keyboard. That means there's tons of space. I do not think it's a compression issue. I think it's an alignment or fitment issue of the plate. Keep this in mind, and I want to be clear on this. I think the solution is to figure out what's causing this, because I think coming up with a compromise isn't an ideal, way to look at the board. I'd rather not take a compromised look and be like, well, we can build the board this way, why don't we do this? I think the healthiest way to go about this is just to figure out what's actually causing the problem. That way there you can build it any way you want. You know what I mean? I think that is actually the best way. It's an alignment thing. So you can literally see the moment we shift the case down a little bit, and it doesn't even visually look like we're doing much to the case. I think the plate, my thought process here is I think the plate is touching something either on the bottom or the top. As for what it's touching, I literally think that we have to go and explore that. But okay, it seems like the quick fix, which isn't really ideal, is you have to shift the keyboard up a little bit, causing what I'm guessing is a plate tab somewhere here. Or, I don't know, I guess a plate tab to shift upwards. So now that we've got that semi-sorted, let's try the keyboard as is right now. So this is gaskets with MX2A. I mean, this sounds fantastic. It has a nice like undertone of thud too, which is nice. I think the gaskets sound nicer than the top mount in aluminum. I do like the way it sounds. I do. I think it sounds really good. Yeah, this thing would sound insane plateless. I think if you had a plateless version, this would sound crazy good. Now, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's literally a problem with the plate. I do think the plate is impacting the case somewhere. As you shift it downwards, needs to be aligned more top-wise. So what they could do is they could either increase the size of those silicone dumbbells so they fit snugly into their slots so there's no movement. Or they could just get rid of a larger surface area and mill more around where the top mount's supposed to go. I think that's also a very valuable solution there. Or even on the bottom, just create like a divot so it doesn't touch anything. Without getting into too many details, because I urge you to go watch the first VOD, which I still think is on YouTube, there was a plethora of things that needed to be worked on. They apparently worked on it. Literally every single thing. There was even some things that they found in response to, I guess, my criticism in a way. I'm really happy that they decided to take the criticism like seriously, you know what I mean? I think that's completely awesome. They worked on a lot of stuff. They apparently also found out that there was a thicker screw sent to me in these versions that was never supposed to be sent. And apparently that also had a lot of problems with the build. I want to look at the new one, not look at this, and start fresh. But I also want to acknowledge and thank everyone from KBDFans for even, dude, like, I think it's such a big accomplishment to take criticism and actually like act on it. I don't know why I think that's such a big accomplishment, but I do. So I want to give them like credit there too, because I think they handled it very professionally. With that being said, let's take a look at some of the new stuff here. It's going to be some changes that we're probably not going to notice. The only one we might notice right away is probably going to be the feet of the keyboard. So there was a lot of other changes made. There was apparently also some internal changes made to the keyboard too, which is great to hear. Oh, this is the all raw one. Oh, hell yeah. That's actually sick, dude. I'm excited to put this together. This TOFU TKL is so, like, it's genuinely beautiful. And I'm really happy that they've taken the time to do this. Okay, we can go through a full list. Case feet revision number 1. In each order, we'll provide 2 thicknesses for rubber feet. So now there's going to be a 2mm version, which is assuming the one that I used, and a 3mm version. So you have the choice to pick which one you want to pick. I think 3mm is the nicer choice here. The second problem was the force brake was not working properly. So the silicone pieces need to be either thicker or higher. So after testing, they confirmed to switch the force brake solution. The silicone gaskets will be replaced with PTFE force brake stickers. That's a big one. I applaud them for that. I think that's the best case there. I think silicone force brakes, they don't always work. This is nicer to have. Also, the bottom case has been readjusted. So this is before. This is exactly what I was telling you guys what was happening. Okay, you remember this? Remember I told you the sockets were touching the case Remember we had to shift it upwards? Point in case. They've changed it now where there's a slight angle being machined into the bottom case, giving us room now for the hot swap sockets to sit. Beautiful, love that. That was clearly an issue before. Really big change, even though it's such a small thing that they've done. They have a plate design revision, adjusted thicknesses of the screw holes. However, the plate samples have already been manufactured in advance. This would have resulted in contact between the plate and the top case. Therefore, we proactively adjusted the plate design. Wonderful. Silicone plate gaskets added. We've added removable silicone spacers to the top and bottom plate. Oh yeah, they're already on. Okay, that's really awesome too. So this is going to allow the plate to sit nicer in there. In order, we are including items for free, 2 custom pour-on foam kits for the battery. Okay, awesome. And 1 set of versatile 0.2mm force break PTV to isolate contact between the... Okay, so they're offering a bunch of this stuff, and that's it. Big changes. Big changes. The screw one that I mentioned is actually not on here. That was a private DM sent to me. But the screws have been changed as well. Well, not changed. Apparently I was sent the wrong screws, so shouldn't happen anymore. Like, isn't it actually wild how these small things can equate to like a really big problem? That is the joy of building keyboards. See right there how this is now on an angle? Right there? Versus this, which is not on an angle and kind of protrudes inwards a little bit more. So that is that bigger change that should allow the hot swap sockets to not contact. They've also, from the internal case here, removed these little parts over here. So these are no longer on the case too. But I think that's realistically it. Also, I have to steal back the daughter board here. I think that's realistically like the big internal changes in terms of machining. Everything else has stayed pretty much the same. First, we apply these. Should be literally everything we need to make this keyboard better. So hopefully that is the case as we put this together here. And now we have our updated feet. So these are thicker now. They are indeed much thicker. See that? So these will now just press in. I still don't quite like how these just press in. They're still a little awkward to truly get in the keyboard, but I don't foresee them shifting around as we have them here. I have not done anything special to this other than build it with the new parts. Let's see if this changes the sound profile. We're still using the same basic setup as the last one, so Cherry MX2As, but with the updated plate. Much better already. And then we're gonna do one thing that Pancake said we should try. Much better already. It still has some bass to it. That's definitely not, if I lifted it off, you'd be able to not hear that anymore. Much better. Now I'm gonna try one thing. Pancake actually told me to unscrew the screws underneath the feet. So let's see what this does. So what does this change? Interesting. It might be too much tension in the case. So apparently Gion noticed that when he was opening it up and stuff. So that could be something that you could just opt to not include. Does that change anything on the sides here? Not really. No, I don't really notice anything. Yeah, that's a big difference. No instability at all. Like, I mean, you have screws relatively close to the edges here anyways. Yeah, it's not really like too crazy. The other idea is just to not screw it in too much. I don't even think we need to screw it in, period, so. I mean, that sounds damn good. Like, that did remove some of the muddiness Like, or I shouldn't say muddiness. It's more of a thud on the inside, which it's almost gone now completely. There's some of it left, but it's kind of tasteful. Impressive. Very, very impressive there. Okay, well, maybe we just leave these 4 screws out of the case. So now we're going to try doing the top mount. All right, so let's see how the top mount sounds now. I think I'd still prefer a plastic plate here. Like, It has a very solid sound profile. Like it is good for what it is here, like top mount. It is kind of like a traditional top mount almost. I know we're doing an isolated form. It has like that traditional metal plate top mount sound, which some people go crazy for. I am actually not the biggest fan of it though, personally. I actually prefer plastic plates for this. But I only have the aluminum plate here today, guys. But I can see me liking this if this was PC. Or any sort of plastic. Yeah, this has the classic vibe, which could also be like what you're into. I preferred the gasket mount overall for this though. Overall though, I mean, dude, I am probably going to put the gaskets back in and actually rock this like for a little bit because this is really pretty. I'm going to change the keycaps. I don't think Sloth is nice on this, but I don't think it's like my end game choice for this. I want to end off by saying I think they did a good job with the changes for the board. It seems like all the issues we had with the first prototype have been addressed. I can confidently say I didn't notice anything that's game breaking with this. There are some quirks, it still seems. Like right now we still have to unscrew the 4 screws underneath the feet, which is honestly not something that I consider a terrible thing, considering it literally doesn't do anything to the board. In fact, it kind of makes it easier to disassemble since you don't have to take off the removable feet. Play around with the gaskets if you guys end up going with this. I'd probably get a few plates if you guys end up going with the hot swap PCB just to experiment with what you guys like. But nice, very nice. Is the TOFU TKL all fixed now? Absolutely all fixed. I don't think there's anything else that I would say you need to touch with this board to fix it. I think it sounds really good in gasket configuration. Aluminum top mount, again, you have to be into it. I'm not super into alu top mount on all builds. I think polycarbonate top mount on this would be way nicer. It is all fixed, it seems. So see you guys later and good night, everybody. Love you and bye-bye.